Hey everyone, I am Mitch Doctor, the US Commercial Master Trainer at Microsoft, and I'm super excited to have you all back for our third installment of Why Microsoft in Education. And today I'm really excited to talk to you about Microsoft Education with a focus in security. So before we get started, I do want to talk just a little bit about what are some of those significant challenges facing educators. We've already talked about this, so I'm not going to, go through everything. We know hybrid learning is a thing. Last time we all chatted, we talked a lot about accessibility and all the wonderful tools that Windows has. And today we're going to talk about this security piece. Did you know that in education institutions in Kentucky in 2019, they had over $3.7 million due to a single phishing attack in a single county in Kentucky, or a district in Kentucky? Now, what's really insane here is that cyber threats are happening on and on and on every minute of every day. And schools, unfortunately, are almost a soft target because they have smaller IT departments, as well as they have tons of end users. And sometimes those end users aren't exactly tech savvy because, they could be a kindergartner, or they could also very possibly be a teacher who's been teaching for 35 years in an education department. So I want us to take that into account as we talk about the rest of today. So I do want to preface this by Windows 11 Pro and Windows 11 Pro for Education is truly our next step in evolution of a PC in general. We've already hit on this a little bit, but specifically, it is significantly reducing the risk of cyber threats. And we do this a couple different ways, but by replacing old PCs with new modern hardware, as well as these low-cost devices in education, we're making sure that security is optimized, not just for hybrid work, but also for hybrid education and technology in the classroom. Windows 11 Pro is really bringing the hardware and the software together and giving us a single solution so that every individual device, all the data, the applications, everybody's identity and privacy, as well as the services that exist within that education department's technology is secure. So, how do we do it? Well, first, all of our new security features in Windows 11 are out of the box. That means that IT doesn't have to touch every single device and set up all these other security policies and whatnot just to make sure that their devices are secure. Out of the box power when it comes to security is Microsoft's a big step forward when it comes to a Windows 11 device. Not only that, but we're also giving IT a lot more control over that security and allowing access to data literally from anywhere by any end user. Microsoft understands that with technology everywhere and being used by end users, whether a student or an admin or someone in IT or faculty or teachers or anything for that matter, security is our number one priority. It is our number one investment area priority as well. And we do know that from IT decision makers across EDU and business and everything else for that matter, 42% of those IT decision makers are telling us that their companies, as well as their organizations, that their number one priority truly is security. So Microsoft made security our number one focus. We did a couple different things. And the first thing we did was focus on the hardware, the physical device itself. So before a computer is even physically powered on, it is already more secure being a new modern Windows 11 device. We did this by requiring that every single Windows 11 device has something called a TPM, or a Trusted Platform Module chip. This chip lets us do some incredible stuff like full-blown encryption of every device. So God forbid if a device is lost, that device is still safe, and so is the information within that device because it's encrypted. It allows us to do things like Windows Hello for Business or Windows Hello for Education for that matter as well. Why? Because it allows us to have every different user sign in using biometrics or their face or a PIN code or fingerprint or anything else for that matter, to make sure that it is the correct person accessing the correct data. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in our fourth installment here shortly when we talk a little bit about management and deployment. We also, of course, have these securities that follow all the way up to the cloud. So as you use OneDrive and Azure and Autopilot and all these wonderful Microsoft Cloud services, again, that we'll talk a little bit more about in a future entry here, but having all those together, make sure that individuals are safe from the physical piece of hardware all the way up to the cloud, and making sure that the applications and the operating system itself also stays safe through encryption and being able to boot up securely, all thanks to those hardware advancements like that TPM chip. So we can go a little bit more into this, but to really make it simple for you, the idea of a virtualized base of security, as you see here, is that we are able to load up the computer essentially inside of its own little bubble. That bubble doesn't touch the operating system, and it doesn't touch the internet for that matter. So all the files and everything that needs to be used to boot up a computer and a device is always going to be protected in its own little bubble. So therefore, if some type of cyber threat or vulnerability did arise on an individual that device is not a lost cause. That device can be submitted to IT and, of course, can be reset and fixed, so on and so forth from that. We also talked a little bit about that identity and privacy security, and this goes a long way because we're really looking to protect the individual user by using through Windows, for instance. Right now, you'll be seeing this live video on what it might look like on a pop-up, for instance, and what a pop-up might do is, ask, oh, what's your password? And you go to put in your password, but it's not a website that actually requires your password. So we've gone one step forward with Microsoft Defender for SmartScreen. And now Defender for SmartScreen doesn't just tell you a website's no good, right? And we'll take a look at that here in just a second. But it's also going to tell you like, hey, you should not be using this. This should not be asking for your password. This website is a known phishing site, and please be careful going forward. But I wanted you guys to actually see what this might look like in person. So as we do that, let's actually come over here to my desktop. So you should see my desktop nice and big right now. And I'm just going to open up Microsoft Edge. Now, I already have Microsoft Edge open. I have it open to our demo site here. But what if you hit a bad link? What if a user hits a bad link? Unfortunately, it happens. But if you hit that link, Microsoft Edge will actually tell you it is an unsafe place to be. Hey, this site has been reported unsafe. Don't go here. And you can automatically go back to, say, your landing page, for instance. We'll go back and look at that demo one more time. What if it's a blocked download and it's like, oh, you shouldn't be downloading these things? You'll notice if I click here, my downloads will open up, and you'll notice it says, free video was blocked because it's unsafe. Here, I'll zoom in here so we can see what that looks like. It was blocked because it's unsafe. This is really important, and these are tools that are physically built in to the Windows 11 operating system and Microsoft Edge, making it just that much safer to browse around as we use our devices, whether we're going to use our devices as a teacher or a student or administrator or anybody else for that matter. I think it's really important to just see what that power is and what that power looks like for us as a user. And with that, I do want to just say thank you for hanging out with me as we talked about security. Next, we're going to actually have a chat about deployment and management and probably talk a little bit more about security. My name's Mitch. See you soon.